legitimate claim to. Why don't they just leave? July 8th, 7:15 p.m. Today has been a good day. I didn't think I'd ever write those 6 words again. Carter sat up for a full half hour. The heat in his leg has lessened. Jerry says we'll try to put a cast on it once the swelling goes down. I have no idea how he hopes to make one of those with our limited resources, but Georgia says that Jerry Lambert could create a... July 9th, 4:25 a.m. The horrors of last night exceed anything I saw in Abney before or after the flare. They even surpass the anarchy of Austin. There I didn't have to unload the bodies of friends and neighbors, worrying with each person I moved that one of them might be the man I love. I shouldn't have written that, but then I am long past worrying about someone finding my journal and sharing the secrets of my heart. I have loved Max for at least 25 years of my life. When did it begin? Junior high? Family vacations that my parents took with his, dragging us in their wake? Last week in Austin? I won't hide those feelings from myself any longer. If nothing else, tonight cemented in my mind the futility of looking toward the future, of imagining a happily ever after ending. The battle with the Kavanaughs is over. The toll in human lives is high. Too high. Any more death is too much death. I'm sitting by Carter's bed, looking back over these pages, and I wonder, what is the point? If those we love are going to die, are bound to suffer so grievously, then why should we struggle so mightily to live? But as soon as those thoughts enter my head, I see the faces of those who have sacrificed so much. Patrick and Bianca, and Max, and other people I barely know, and yet they risked their lives for me. Lon and Bill and Clay, Donna, Gabe. My thoughts circle round and round, vacillating wildly between hope and despair as I wonder what the dawn will bring. 1. Highfields Ranch, March 14th. Shelby's head jerked up at the sound of the emergency bell. She dropped the bucket full of slop and ran full speed toward the house, the March wind whipping at her clothes. Carter reached the porch steps at the same time she did. Roy had hurried over from the main barn, and Georgia stood wiping her hands on a kitchen towel. Max stood next to the bell, an old rusted thing they'd found in the barn and fastened to the front porch as a kind of emergency warning system. There were many things they'd learned this first winter on the ranch with no electricity, no power, and no one to depend on but each other. One of the most important was the need for the bell. Max grinned and held up both hands, palms out. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you." Shelby wanted to scold him, but instead she leaned over, hands on her knees, and tried to pull in deep breaths. She focused on convincing her heart that it was okay to slow into a regular rhythm. "So, what's up?" Carter asked. "Got a call on the radio from the roadblock crew. Patrick's on his way." "Patrick? Seriously?" A grin broke across Carter's face. Roy reached over and circled an arm around Carter's neck, pulling him into a bear hug. Georgia breathed a sigh of relief and sank onto the porch rocker. "You're sure?" Shelby raised her gaze to Max. "You're sure it's him? Because he's not due for another
3 months. Yeah, I know."
"But you're certain it's him?"
Know anyone else who is still driving a red 65 Mustang?
An ache deep in Shelley's heart eased at those words. Patrick. Alive. Here. It was something she'd prayed for every night since that day in July when he'd sacrificed himself for Carter. Max walked down the steps and pulled her into his arms.
"He's okay. I told you he would be. He's fine."
She pulled away out of habit. Instead of being offended, Max grinned at her. And then they heard him, the rumble of the V8 engine reaching them well before they could see the red-hot rod. That it still worked was a wonder. But then many things they'd expected to work didn't, and a few things they didn't expect to still be functional were.